All right. All right, here we go. Okay, so higher self yoga, the subject for class today. We're going to get into the energy body and energy body stimulation and how that's related to the out of body experience and to lucid dreaming in general. Jaime today is going to explain a exercise called vertical energetic longitudinal oscillation. So for short, it's called VELO. And this technique it's still taught by the Institute for Advanced Consciousness. Is that, dude, I just totally messed that up. Jaime, what's the AIC stand for? I think you're muted.
Is it the International Association of Consciousness?
That's it. Okay. International Association for Consciousness.
Something like that.
Yeah. So they've done, they're actually partnering up with the Monroe Institute. They just announced a partnership, and they do research into out-of-body experiences, and particularly there's a woman named Nancy Trivelato.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's written books about the vibrational state and about this particular exercise. Thank you for reminding me to record this, James.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So the VELO exercise is taught by Nancy, and it's really a core practice at the AIC. They're located in Portugal, and they've been doing out-of-body experience workshops and altered states of consciousness workshops for a very, very long time, probably 30 years or something like that. It was initially founded by a dentist named Waldo Rivera, a Portuguese dentist, a very scientifically oriented and minded person, similar to Bob Monroe, very technical. So a lot of the, that book that Nancy wrote on the vibrational state and on energy work, it's like a science textbook. So I've actually recommended Nancy's work, and I've shared her videos several times in the group chat, and I've referenced her a lot in higher self yoga, over the last few months. So what we haven't covered yet in this particular cycle, this particular season of OBE that we've done, is energy work. And we did touch on this when we were doing OBEs earlier in 2023. So James, David, and Kelvin and Dingo were there for that season. We had about a 2-month period where we were doing, just lots of exit attempts and reality checks, lucid dreaming, out-of-body stuff. So very, very fruitful, because at the end of that concentrated period in 2023, I think it was around March, about a month after we had concluded that series and that cycle, I had that really, really profound dream that had turned into an OBE. I think I must have described it at the beginning of the series, but I'll touch on it again just to reiterate it for everyone. I was having a dream that I was calling a former boss of mine, and I was on the phone with him in the dream, and a phone call was intercepted my call in the dreamscape. As soon as this phone call occurred, the dreamscape split into 2 simultaneously occurring dream realities. So imagine you're having 2 dreams at once. And here was the really strange part. In one of the dreams, I was lucid. And in the other one, I wasn't. So I didn't even know that consciousness could do something like this. I've never even heard of this before, right? So in one dream, I'm still the dream character. I'm not lucid at all. In this second dream, or second reality that opened up in this experience, I was completely lucid, and I was some kind of collective group mind in the center of the higher self structure, in the center of the higher self mainframe. And there was a message that was relayed from the mainframe, the operators of the mainframe, to Ryan in the dreamscape. And the message was this. I've shared it before, so some of you have already heard it. The message was, if you live your life in accordance to the plan that we decided upon, then your life will be full of happiness and joy. If you do not live in accordance to the plan that we designed or decided upon, your life will be full of suffering and misery. Suffering is by design to move you back towards the original plan. We love you. We're always here for you. Goodbye. Click. That whole reality disappears, and I'm back in the dreamscape, and then I wake up afterwards. Very profound experience in the sense that one, I didn't try to make it happen. Like, it became an OBE spontaneously, like a dual simultaneous reality on its own spontaneously. And I was surprised at just the amount of love that was coming through this aspect or level of myself, configuration of myself. You know, they really... I never tell myself I love myself, right? I never have that thought. I love you. I'm here for you. I say this to other people, but of course we never say this sort of thing to ourselves. So that was the first indicator that, you know, that there's no way I would have made this up, because I would never talk to myself like that. That was one of the first things that dawned on me. And also, of course, just having two simultaneous realities occurring at the same... Yeah, that's just strange and difficult to wrap your mind around. And also, you know, in this operator's room, or this table that these beings were sitting around, they all had like a collective mind. So it was like being all of them while also being me in the dreamscape, but the me in the dreamscape is not aware of them, but they're aware of me in the dreamscape entirely. So that's the kind of discovery that, in my opinion, really makes OBE, lucid dreaming, and all of this altered consciousness exploration worth it. It's not just to have these, you know, astral adventures and you know, entertaining journeys. It's really to learn. You know, in that experience where the operators of the mainframe spoke to me, my mainframe spoke to me, there was a lesson that was transmitted. There was a learning that was being shared and sent to me. All of these experiences with the higher self and these, whether it's conversation that we're having, or intuition, or these gut instincts, or really overt interventions from the higher self from this larger consciousness system, what we see in all of them is that there's always a movement towards growth. There's always a movement towards what is beneficial for you. What they actually have your best interest. So it's interesting because there's so much in the field of non-duality and a lot of these teachings that emphasize being alone and that emphasize really being out here in the desert. But I found the opposite to be true, actually. That these parts of ourselves have been watching us since birth. Hey, that's what I've discovered. No one has to take my word for that, but these are the kinds of insights or knowledges that are accessible in the architecture of the soul, or what I call the mainframe. There's a kind of consciousness and energetic flexibility that is very useful for exploring these particular states and having these kinds of experiences. For example, traditional Chinese medicine, yoga, philosophy, they'll say the reason that kids have so much energy, so much boundless energy, is because their energetic centers, their major chakras, so the crown chakra, forehead, the heart, the solar plexus, you could see the chakras as the energetic side or the energetic counterpart to the major glands of the physical body. So what a chakra does, or its particular function, is it's a wheel of energy. And the reason it has this, it's usually portrayed as like petals or flowers, is because you have the chakra, the energy vortex spinning in one direction, and you have another part of it spinning in the other direction. So this particular energy pattern creates the illusion of petals if a clairvoyant was to observe this. So kids' chakras spin very, very fast. They're very, very powerful. They have a lot of energy. That's why they're so creative, right? And in these types of energetic teachings or philosophies, or what clairvoyants have said they've discovered, is that, for example, when a person becomes sick, like let's say they get a cancer in a certain area of their body, what the clairvoyant would see is that the particular major energy center and the channels, the energy channels around that diseased organ are all diseased and damaged themselves. So what's a good example of this? So like, let's say someone has undergone a kind of sexual abuse. It's very likely, it's more likely that a person who's undergone sexual abuse will actually have cancer in that region of their body later, or at some point in their life. So the diseased energy, or the disease, begins at an energetic level according to these teachings, and then it eventually manifests as an actual physical ailment. The level of health and the level of vitality and power going through the energy body is directly related to your ability to phase between states of consciousness. So that's why people who are young, like kids, they're more likely to have out-of-body experiences and lucid dreams. I mean, a lot of adults actually will say, hey, I had a lot of lucid dreams and all these out-of-body experiences when I was a kid, but when I became an adult, I lost those capacities. So what happens is that the flexibility of the energy body atrophies, and when that happens, there's a loss of that flexibility of consciousness to shift between states and recall and remember what happens in those states. So what we do through meditation and through energy work really is regain and redevelop the energetic health, vitality, and flexibility So energy work is directly related to a pre-OBE condition called the vibrational state. The vibrational state is the state, it's an experience where your mind is awake but your body is asleep, but you've gone far enough into sleep while your awareness is still present to actually begin to experience the separation of the non-physical body, the astral body, from the physical vehicle. A level of mind awake, body asleep that all of us are familiar with generally is if you've ever heard yourself sleeping, if you've ever had hypnagogic imagery, or like you're falling asleep and you do this hand flop. Hand flops are you fell asleep momentarily. You went into sleep momentarily. So going deeper into this, you begin to experience the separation. The separation of the non-physical from the physical is characterized specifically by the vibrational state. I still experience it. It's just not as overt and like crazy as it was the first time I ever experienced it. When the vibrational state is happening, there's a lot of phenomena that can occur. For example, hallucinatory phenomena. So you can, when you're in the vibrational state, you're in sleep paralysis, you can't move. There could be all these roaring sounds. You could see a shadow in the corner of the room. And all of this is part of that liminal phase. You're basically in the river of Styx the first time you experience a vibrational state. You're between worlds. Your consciousness is transitioning from the physical reality to the non-physical reality, and the non-physical body that is able to explore the non-physical reality. Energy work actually brings on the vibrational state. Literally, it does it. So what's an example of that? There's a particular book, actually, it's right here. Energy Work by Robert Bruce. This is a classic. Robert Bruce wrote a book called Astral Dynamics that was really a classic in the field of OBE. I think it was published in like the mid 90s. So it was really, really early. And through his direct explorations of the non-physical reality, he began to stumble upon the energy body in himself. He's particularly clairvoyant, so he started to notice when he was observing people that were sleeping, he was able to see their chakras and meridians and stuff like that. So he started to do energy work himself and mess around with Kundalini. So Robert tried to actually raise Kundalini manually himself, like not with the instruction from a teacher or anything like that. And he shares this story if you go on YouTube and look him up. He said it basically caused like an energetic short circuit in his body and forced an out-of-body experience. And when he was on the other side, these masters showed up and they were like, they showed him, they basically transferred clairvoyance to him and then like opened up his spine with clairvoyance so they could see into the spine. And inside the spine he had all of these like astral critters, these little parasitic astral life forms. And the masters just looked at him and they're like, this, with what you tried, you're crazy. You're crazy to have tried this. So they like cleared out the elementals, the parasites, and they put him back in his body. And he began to get instruction on energy work from these non-physical teachers. There are many forms of energy work. Tai Chi, yoga, Qigong. These are all practices that specifically work with the energy body. They're usually geared towards health. So Qigong is about through developing energy, making the physical body as vital as possible, and creating longevity. So Robert wanted to really break down and get to the most fundamental and basic energy work practices that would be useful for astral projection and for the expansion of consciousness. And so he created an energy work system called New Energy Ways. What he found was that most energy work and most OBE methods were based on visualization. And the problem with that is that not everyone can visualize very clearly. Not everyone has this very clear and active imagination. So he stumbled upon and was taught this system of energy work that directly stimulates the energy body by using the feeling, the sense of feeling. So let's say someone would say, okay, to open your palm chakras, you would like do some visualization and say a particular mantra. Robert found that these kinds of methods, they don't work for most people. So what does work? He found that if you just feel a brush moving up and down the palm, that will actually stimulate the energy body in that region. So a method that you can use to prepare you to have an out-of-body experience is to actually do this energetic sweeping on your hands, do the energetic sweeping on your feet. And we can demonstrate this now for everyone, really, really quick. If you're in OBE Season 1, you already got this, but it's always good to revisit the basics. So you can hold out your hands in front of you. And feel, you can also use your imagination if you like, but mostly feel that this brush is moving into your hand all the way up to the top of the fingers and then back down. So you can imagine and feel that a brush is just brushing along your palm all the way to the tips of your fingers and back down. Now you can imagine and try this for both hands. The idea is that the imagination that we're using is just to stimulate the feeling. So we're mostly emphasizing the feeling. Okay. So you can put your hands down, and now you can try this on your right foot. So everyone feel that a brush is moving from their heel all the way to their toes and back from the toes all the way to the heel. From the heel to the toes, back to the heel. Now try your left foot. Both feet. Okay, let's go back to the hands. So feel the palms specifically. And imagine that, let's do your left hand first. Imagine that there's a brush a thinner brush moving clockwise. So feel this tracing on the surface of your palm with your attention. It's pretty weird, right? Yeah. So now imagine this. You know how when you have a paintbrush and you push it into you push it onto the canvas or onto a piece of paper, and it opens up, and then you can if you turn it, it's like this like circle that's moving. So imagine that on your palm. You're like, there's like this whole disc that is rotating on your left hand. So now imagine and feel that there are discs in both of your hands, brush discs in both of your hands that are rotating. You can make them rotate in opposite directions if that's easier. Okay. So I really, really mean this when I say this. I've literally had OBEs just from doing that on my feet. Like I'm falling asleep, I'm getting relaxed, I'm letting myself relax, and I just start doing the brushing on the feet. And just doing the brushing on the feet as I'm entering mind awake, body asleep has triggered the vibrational state. So what happens is that by working on the feet, you trigger this whole vibrational process that's related to, or that is the pre-OBE state. Robert recommends doing energy work, the kind of stimulation that I just showed you, on the entirety of the physical body. So from the feet all the way up to the head, and it's just the first, like, the core practice of it is to just do the brushing. And then later you can start to do that swirling stimulation on the major chakras. So like the solar plexus, the heart. So like, for example, instead of visualizing this thing to stimulate the brow center, you would do a brushing of the brow chakra like this, or swirling in this particular, in like a clockwise or a counterclockwise movement. And that will activate the center of that particular region. So Robert really explains all the practices and his full system of energy work in his book. So I recommend that for all of you if you feel particularly drawn to it. For me, I just do the stimulation on the feet, because that's all that I need to do just to trigger the vibrational state. But it would probably be useful to do energy body stimulation, the brushing on the entirety of the body, and that will really prime you to have an OBE, to have a lucid dream, and to remember it, because the level of energy present is directly related to your capacity to recollect the experience and your capacity to actually navigate the OBE or the altered consciousness state. That's why when you go on a meditation retreat and you're 4 or 5 days in and your mind's super clear and your mind's very still and your body feels extremely light, and all this bliss is rolling. It's easy to remember all of your dreams, and it's easy to go out of body and to have lucid dreams. It's because from that meditation on that retreat, your energy body's now gained a degree of flexibility and power that it didn't have, that wasn't present before the retreat. So that's really what's going on. All this wild stuff happens on meditation retreats because by the virtue of meditating 6, 8, 10 hours a day, your whole energetic physiology looks entirely different. It's like powered up. You got sparks flying all over the place, angels around you. Usually they have angels around you all the time, but now they're a little closer because you're doing all this cultivation. So that's what happens on retreats. And the basic energy body stimulation that I just showed you, it's so simple that it could be overlooked, but it's really a good thing to do before you actually have or make an OBE attempt. So that's energy body stimulation the way that Robert Bruce teaches it, and it's what I do particularly. Now, VELO, which Jaime is going to talk about now, is a method where you're using your consciousness and awareness to move energy from the top of your head all the way to the bottom of your feet. It's more of a vigorous exercise. It's not nearly as passive as energy body stimulation. And what VELO does is that by moving the energy in this fashion, vertically up and down, it'll create a resonance effect between all the energy centers, and from that resonance, the vibrational state emerges. So, are you ready, Jaime?
Sure. I enjoyed listening to all your everything you were talking about, because it ties up with the VELO technique and and also the vibrational state. All these things are very important in order to have a experience, and also cleaning our energetic body.